Hey everyone, just a little pre-show message. As usual, Tim's daughters have given him 2 secret words he has to try and smuggle into the show. Keep your ears open, see if you can figure out what they are. 2 words that maybe seem out of place, 2 words that Tim's using on the sly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
7, 8. Man, hang on. Did you stop counting? After 7? All this time I've been counting all the way to 10 like an idiot, and really you just needed to go to 7.
Yeah, well, 10 helps. I should have gone to 10. Would you like me to do it again and go to 10?
No, that's fine. No.
Maybe we should, because maybe it's bad luck.
Do you think we've been having good luck so far? Do you?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
10.
So this is going to be a terrible episode.
I think, do you know what you should do? The bits you don't need, like 8, 9, and 10, you should release those just as a special for the patrons. Like bonus footage.
Yeah, if you stop at 7 and say, if you want to know what came next. Anyway, I'll ask because you told me to ask you when we started recording. How are you doing, Tim?
Well, you've caught me on the hop there, Brady. I'm great, actually. I've just, on the way here, been past my boss's house because he had a gift for me.
I thought God was your boss.
Yes, that's right. That's why I was quite delayed. This is sort of middle management, really, if God's big boss. Yeah. Well, he and his wife have been up to the country and they came back with a gift for me, which was really nice of them, which I've got next to me here, which is a typewriter.
Right.
Which is lovely. And it's a lovely classic. I've got a few of these and I don't quite collect them, but I think I've got 4 at the moment and I have them on different desks and so forth. But they found this beautiful mid-60s Underwood 18 portable typewriter, which I've not got.
Just to be clear, your boss does also supply you with computers and stuff like that, hopefully. That's
right. He's also in charge of IT and he's, it's not... Here we go.
Tim, I've picked you up. I thought you might need this fax machine for the office.
That's right. He did make I thought the good point. He says it's a portable, but it is like 3 times heavier than a laptop. But he says it does come with a built-in printer. And I thought, well, that is true. So that's pretty clever.
You're going to give us a few clickety-clacks on the microphone there?
I will. Here's it.
Nice.
Oh, how nice is it?
Oh, nice.
Hang on, I'll type something out and you tell me if you can pick what it is.
Okay.
All right?
Yep.
All right. Oh, hang on.
It's like one of your guitar solos.
This may need a service before I put it into high rotation at the office. Yep, every note, every letter has stuck, but so you may not be able to pick it up straight away.
What, you stuck every letter?
Each letter that I tried in BRADY are all stuck. So just letting you know.
All right.
But it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So this got me thinking about, I imagine that there are some aficionados who talk about typewriters on podcasts. And I was just thinking, what's a unique angle then on a typewriter, classic typewriter podcast? And I was wondering as I drove here, I wonder if typewriters have any chance of being the vinyl of the written word.
How would that work?
Whether they'll make a comeback. In the way that record sales and vinyl have soared in sales over the last few years and CDs have plummeted.
My wife and I typed all our wedding invitations with a typewriter, so that each one was hand typed to everyone.
Oh, that's lovely. That's great.
So it is a bit of a retro, and all the seating plan and all the labels on everyone's tables and that at their wedding were all typed.
Oh, it's lovely.
Yeah.
What typewriter do you have?
I don't know. There's 1 or 2 around the place. I can't remember what like the make was or anything, but I don't know if it was like a Nimbus 5000 or something, but It was
The Nimbus 5000, that's great.
It was what it was. Just one we picked up at a second-hand shop. We still use it. Sometimes we type things with it when you want to send something that's a bit nice, when you want to write a name on an envelope or a card or something in a special way.
Yeah, I do that from time to time too. Send little letters and notes to people and stuff. Sometimes I post a little letter to my wife or something.
What, and you've typed it?
From work. Yeah, just a little note.
Like buy milk?
That's right. Is it bin night tonight? It takes a lot longer to reply than an email.
Yeah.
Did you see any typewriters in serious, non-ironic, non-nostalgic operation at work in your lifetime?
In my lifetime, yes, but not in my work time. I remember visiting my dad at work in his newspaper days when he was still working at a typewriter.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Love the sound of the open plan newsroom office with typewriters going off everywhere. That's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, fantastic for about 10 minutes. To work there would be an absolute nightmare.
I'm sure I've told this story lots of times. We're doing some serious story recycling lately, I'm aware, people, but I never forget the day that typewriters got replaced in my dad's newsroom by computers. And it was done over a weekend, so when they were away for 2 days, and they took out all the typewriters and put in this whole new computer system, and the computers were like black screens with green writing on them. That was the style.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't, yeah. And I still remember Dad going into work the first day and then coming back and telling us how when he went to work, it was amazing. It was all dark, and you just saw these green lights blinking at us, and he described it like it was a scene from this like sci-fi movie. I was like, oh my God, it sounds amazing. Going into this, because he went in early in the morning when it was still dark, and the whole newsroom, and there was 100 new computers there with black screens, and each one just had a blinking green cursor saying, all right, ready to work. He said it was like so menacing. Wow, it was amazing.
That's a great image. That's a great scene. The old-fashioned journo working in these ominous eyes all across the room.
Yeah, walking in. Yeah.
Can I just say one more thing about this typewriter?
Yeah.
And, that I think is lovely, and there's something that has been
Stop
lost.
crawling up to your boss. All right, you've got a great boss. Good for you.
I'm not. He's bought me a gift. I don't think I have to crawl up to him. I think it's really lovely. It's it's got this. It's a lovely leather case. This is something that laptops don't do quite as well.
Yeah.
Come with the ready-made leather case, which is burgundy in this case, which is brilliant because everything goes with burgundy. Beautiful. It's beautiful. It's leather. Yeah.
Nice. Well, send us a picture. I want to see it now. You've made it sound pretty awesome.
Cool, Magoo. Anyway, that's not really an idea. It was just more of a
no.
cool thing happened on the way to the recording.
I've got a bit of housekeeping actually from our previous episode.
Oh.
Yeah, I've been doing
Hang
a
on,
bit of.
You talk and I'll type. I'll type out what you're saying, man.
You keep notes. Very good. All right, you ready?
All right.
I have.
Hang on. The paper's not quite in there. There we go.
All right.
Oh.
I have.
You talk and I'll catch up in a minute, man. I'm just going to work on this.
All right.
All right. I might have to do this later on, man.
All right. You can just. No.
Tom Hanks has got an app for this. I'll put it into the app. That's almost as good. Continue
Have we finished with that joke now? Can I move on?
You can, yes, please do.
All right.
Please do. Quicker than that, man.
I'm sure there are international laws against how hard we just thrashed that joke. I'm sure we broke some. I'm sure we just committed a war crime. Okay, so in the last episode, we talked at some length about the Great Seal of the State of Idaho.
Yes.
And for people who don't know, which would be our non-patrons, Tim and his family also, each member of the family coloured in the State Seal of Idaho, and we put that on Patreon as possibly the worst Patreon perk in the history of Patreon.
Now, come on. There was some fine colouring in.
To be fair, that was my idea, and I made you guys do it, basically.
Man, we don't need to be made to colour in.
No. You sent me a photo of all four of you around the table colouring in at my demand, and I felt a bit like you're in some kind of doing forced labour or something. But anyway,
that's right. We're not going out to have fun.
Brady demands colouring in. Colouring in will be done. So I imagine after spending so much time looking at this seal, Tim, you must be thinking even more about it and want to know more about it. You must feel like you know it intimately after colouring it in.
Oh well, yes. Can I just say one thing about it? We didn't look at the real seal in order to get the colours. I'd obviously seen it, but that was like well beforehand. I couldn't remember, so I am intrigued to look at it again, which I haven't done, to see what things are what colours. I'm not sure that the man had a red hat in the original, but
it's funny you should mention the man in the hat and the colour red, because we're going to come to that.
Okay.
I feel a bit like, because we've discussed it now here in the public forum of the podcast and broken our Patreon host confidentiality, I'm going to have to make the colouring ins that you guys did publicly available so everyone can see them now.
Okay.
So I will do that in the notes. But I've been doing a little bit of reading up on the seal, and there's a few interesting points I thought were worth sharing. First of all, here's an amazing fact. The Idaho seal has something about it that no other American state has. Something about its designer that is unique. The person who designed it. Can you guess what that might be?
Their name was Red?
No, but you're on fire, Tim, because their name was Green. but that's not
Sorry,
the
I meant
fact.
green.
But that's not the fact. The fact is, Idaho is the only state seal that was designed by a woman.
Ah, there you go.
That woman was Emma Edwards Green.
Emma Green.
From Boise City. Yeah, Emma Edwards
Nice.
Green. It was actually originally a painting, and that painting has been held in trust by the Idaho Historical Society, which is now a place I want to visit just so I can see this painting.
Is the painting, do you know, of you know how it's sort of like the shield inside the sign? Is the painting of the whole lot, like of the
whole
design?
lot, yeah. The shield is deliberately inside the seal. There's even meaning to that.
All right. Am I allowed to look at it now? Like, can I Google it while we
Yes.
talk, or is there something
Yes.
building up
No,
to
no.
it?
No,
Okay,
you are allowed
all
to
right.
look at it. Go ahead.
So, for only the second time in my life, I'm Googling Idaho seal.
One of the things that caught our eye, obviously, was the fact that the woman, the goddess woman, on the left-hand side, as one looks at it,
Yep.
was holding what looked like a big stick with like a Smurf's hat on top of it.
Yes.
It turns out that that's not a Smurf's hat, in case you're wondering, although it does look like one. It's even like the proportion. Am I not
It's
right?
like she's gone Smurf hunting and come back with that.
Well, that is actually, it turns out that is a spear she's holding. So I'm looking at that in
Wow.
quite a menacing way now.
Is her name Gargabel? No?
That hat on the end of the spear is the Liberty Cap, and this is like a famous thing that I didn't know much about. It's actually known as the Phrygian cap as well. This is a soft conical cap with the apex bent over, and since antiquity, it has been this like famous symbol, and then it came into prominence during the French Revolution, and it often signifies kind of freedom and liberty away from the crown. So you, instead of having a crown, you will have this cap. And it now has a long history in the United States too. The US Army utilizes it in its War Office seal. And if you read Wikipedia, it appears on the state flags of West Virginia, New Jersey, New York, as well as the official seal of the United States Senate, the state of Iowa, the state of North Carolina, and the reverse side of the seal of Virginia. And disappointingly, there's no reference here to the Idaho seal. So if any of you out there are Wikipedia editors...
Hang on a second. Just go back a second. Did you say the reverse side of the Virginia seal?
Yeah.
How do you have a reverse side of a two-dimensional seal? Like,
Well, let's not get lost in the weeds here, man.
well, I'm just wondering if there's a reverse side. Do other states know they're allowed to have a reverse side? Like, that's a whole other canvas for them to paint on.
It is. And as interesting as that is, I haven't finished my points about the Great Seal of the state of Idaho, because also it's very detailed, and there's this big long article you can read that was written by Emma Edwards Green herself, and she talks about all the things that are in the picture, and she mentions in the sort of the inner logo, in the shield that's inside this seal, she mentioned there's a stamp mill in the distance, which she says, which you can see by using a magnifying glass. And I have to say, if you've got to the point where you need to use a magnifying glass to see things in your state seal, I'm not entirely sure you're on optimal design grounds here. At least it's not on the reverse side. She should have used the reverse side. She could have fit way more in.
That's right. Goodness great. On the who knows if you I mean, what other seals and signs and commercial logos unveil greater layers under microscope? I mean, is the McDonald's M? Do you reckon the M, there's more to it if you look under a microscope?
Yeah, like if you look at it with the Hubble Space Telescope, you can see like the ingredients of a quarter pounder or something.
That's right. Yeah.
On the issue of colour, which is obviously of great interest to the Hine family.
Indeed.
She said her principal desire was to use colours that would typify pure Americanism,
right,
and the history of the state. And she said when she was consulting with various people from Idaho about what colour and colours the mining man who was holding the pickaxe should be wearing, she said that almost unanimously they said, do not put the miner in a red shirt.
Ah, yes, indeed.
Make the shirt a greyish brown. They did not want the miner in a red shirt. And when you look at the colouring in done by the Hine family, I think all members of the family pretty much followed that edict. Except probably Tim, who went pretty hard on the reds and the red shades when colouring in the miner.
Well, I couldn't remember if he was a fireman or not, and I looked at it.
Yeah. You put him in a red hat, red jeans, and red boots.
Yeah.
You did put him in a purple shirt in your defence.
I was trying to be a little bit creative and give him a little bit of flair.
Bit flamboyant.
Yeah. Well, just to sort of spriten him up a little bit, make him look... I was just thinking that maybe he was from V. Do you remember the 80s TV show V with those guys?
Yeah? Is that what you were thinking when you were colouring?
I was thinking Idaho. Perhaps V was derived from this guy from Idaho.
You did go outside the lines a lot with that rope around the edge as well.
Oh, I did? Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. I was a bit over it by the time I got to the rope, I got to be honest. But
good thing you're not in charge of designing seals. The official account written by the designer Tim Hine, who says here on line 41, by the time it came to the rope, I was a bit over it.
There you go. There's certainly more to the Great Seal of the state of Idaho than first meets the eye.
There certainly is. In fact, you need a magnifying glass to fully appreciate it.
Yeah,
I think that's. I've got pages and pages of information here. I think that's most of what I had to say. I could say a lot more about that Smurf hat, but let's move on. Ideas for a podcast? Tell you what, Tim, my ideas list is in really good shape at the moment. I've got a good stash of ideas ready to go for weeks. I could go for weeks. In fact, I don't even need you at the moment. You're kind of just like, you're like a passenger.
I am merely Chewbacca, just here to sort of grunt every now and then to keep the seat warm.
In fact, if you want a few weeks off, you let me know, and I'll just go solo. I think I've got enough recordings of you just going, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. I'll just drop a few of them in.
That's right.
In fact, it would be better for me that way, because then rather than like taking all your hmms that are in the wrong place and like overlapping and moving them around, I can just drop them in where I want right from the start.
Oh, nice. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. No, fair enough. I do at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Often you continue talking over the top of my even though it's it should be stopped and recognised for the quality that it is.
In fact, here's a challenge for the civilians at home. There are 5 episodes so far of the Unmade podcast that, in fact, I did on my own and just dropped Tim in later. Can you guess what 5 they are?
It is not this one.
Tim's now going to go back through the old episodes trying to figure it out himself.
It's going, hang on, I remember recording this many episodes.
All right, who's going first with an idea?
No, you keep going. You're on a roll and you're bragging, so let's just see some of the...
Oh, that's not fair, because I haven't picked one of my really good ones today.
Oh.
I had a feeling that you were going to be on a good form today. Like, you seemed confident with your ideas, so I thought, okay, well, I'll just go for like an 80%er than one of my golden ones. But I'll go with it anyway.
When you text me, you're going, all good for tonight, and I text back a confident, yep. You're like, oh, cool. Sounds like Tim's on form. This is good.
No, you said something. You said something more than that.
I do actually have something.
Yeah.
Yes, with my idea. But you go. Come on, you've got some energy.
Hang on, I'm going to tell the people at home exactly what Tim said so that they know what to expect.
Oh, right. Okay.
You said, I've got two ideas, a proper one and something else a bit different. Well, I guess that's not that boastful.
It is something a little bit different.
Well, here's my idea. It's called Stadium Tour, and it's a series of podcasts, each episode recorded at a different stadium somewhere in the world.
Right.
The reason I like this is because I think it's just interesting to talk about stadiums. They're interesting places with interesting history and interesting things happen there, and it's a very international. And also, at the same time, it has this double meaning. And if I was to do it with you, Tim, you would be able to finally fulfill your kind of not so secret fantasy of doing a stadium tour like a rock star. So it'd be like, we're going Unmade Podcast Stadium Tour, and every episode is, today we're at Wembley, and we're going to talk to you about Wembley Stadium, and we're broadcasting from Wembley Stadium. Tomorrow, the Coliseum.
That's a good idea.
Yankee Stadium, Adelaide Oval, the MCG, Croke Park, Eden Park. These places are like, they're important parts of our society, and I like the idea of a series of podcasts about them. And the good thing is, in terms of like, just thinking practically for a minute and thinking about logistics, ideally you'd want to actually, go inside and do everything inside with permission of the people who run it, which hopefully, over time you might be able to persuade them to let you do. But even if you can't, you can just go on the stadium tour or go and watch a game or do something there and just record it outside, in the car park or in a park next to it, and you're still doing it from the stadium. So this would be a podcast that would actually be quite easy to execute as well.
That's true. I like the idea of going on a stadium tour. That is a fun idea. I think this is a good idea too. I've literally sat around with a friend in the last year talking about a variety of stadiums and their features and so forth.
What are some of your favourites?
Well, I'll come to my favourites in a moment, but I'll just say they are fascinating. We were talking about it in the context of NFL, which and just the incredible cost and the size of the stadiums that are built for, firstly, just for college football, but then for the NFL as well, and for around 8 home games, like so few games a year, it's just staggering. And some of them, how they have not just retractable roofs, but like retractable ground, like so the ground goes out and so the grass can get sun and then comes in and the turf is moved or something like that, I think.
It's pretty amazing. Tottenham Hotspur, the football club in London, has a very new stadium. I think it's one of the newest ones in the Premier League. I went to it actually not that long ago, and it's got really impressive things like that where the grass goes off one way underground, where they've got lamps to shine light on it to keep it growing underground, and they can slide in another surface from the other side for NFL games. And like that comes in at a slightly different level, because at NFL games, the grass has to be lower because the people sitting in the front rows have to be able to see over the heads of all the people that stand along the sidelines in an American football game. So that grass is lower than the grass for like a normal football game.
Incredible, isn't it? I mean, that's just incredible that money's spent on that and churned in that way, and the infrastructure at such a large level. Staggering.
I went to an American football game, a college game in Alabama, and the Bryant-Denny Stadium, I believe that's called.
Right.
101,821 people.
God,
the 7th largest stadium in the United States. It's the 8th largest stadium in the world, and it's for university students to play football.
Yeah, America, I mean, it's just another level. That's incredible. My favourite stadiums, I have to say, I haven't been to many stadiums. Oh, well, at all, really. Only really in Australia. I can't think I've been to. I've been to a smaller stadium to see the soccer, the English football, that is, with you, but not really a stadium.
We went to Nottingham Forest, didn't we? That's a stadium.
Well, it is, yes. I was just thinking about something that's, on a grand scale. We didn't go to Wembley or anywhere like that, but that was a lovely stadium, yeah. I actually loved how local it was, just how you just walked in. It had a lovely village sort of feel to it, even though it was quite large.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite in the middle of quite a urban area, but that's most football stadiums in England are like that. That's 30,000 people, the City Ground.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's nice. Oh, nostalgically as an Australian, the MCG is pretty special, the Melbourne Cricket Ground, where cricket is played and has been played there for 150 years or something, but where AFL football is played enormously there as well. And that's got about 110,000. That's quite a large stadium and has been that big for a long time. Not quite as big as it is at the moment with new stands, but
it is amazing. It's a real cauldron, the MCG.
Yeah, very high, and the roar of the crowd is amazing. And it's so, nostalgically beautiful. It's in the parklands in the middle of Melbourne. That's one thing I hear from a friend who follows NFL very closely and has been over quite a few times to the US to watch matches, is that often stadiums are built, because they want them bigger and they're new, they're quite out of town. Like, for instance, where the New York Giants and so forth play, you have to go over to Jersey, and it's quite a distance away and sort of an unusual place to have a stadium rather than, say, Yankee Stadium, for baseball, which is just up in the Bronx. So,
and a lot of the American stadiums are surrounded by car parks, which means they've got like they're kind of in the middle of a big, asphalt donut, which is not very appealing. Whereas a lot of the Australian ones are in the city, and if there is car parking, we do it on the parks and things around the stadiums. So
yeah, that's
more green.
Do you have a favourite?
Oh, I do like the MCG. I liked the old Adelaide Oval when it was still quaint and old-fashioned. I mean, the new Adelaide Oval's good too. I'm not going to start that discussion again because I know how Adelaideans feel about the new Adelaide Oval and how important it is to them. But I did love the old Adelaide Oval with the old red roofs and more views of the city than it has now.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been to a few of the cricket grounds in England. I went to Lord's recently. I was a bit disappointed by Lord's.
Lord's has got that strange media building, which looks like a Star Trek thing in the middle of, the ultimate classic home of cricket. It's just bizarre. Does it look as out of place in person as it does on the television?
You've become so familiar with it now that you're almost okay with it, but it's sort of part of what Lord's is now. But for people who don't know, Lord's is a small cricket ground in London, but it's considered kind of like the home of cricket. It's like the headquarters of cricket, so it's very historic. Quite a small little cricket ground, though. Lots of odd things about it. There aren't many English stadiums that I'm particularly fond of. I have been to Wembley, but not to watch sport.
What's the best stadium production, like rock show or something, that you've ever seen?
Oh, as in music and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably Muse at Wembley.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
That was really good.
They go all out, don't they, with the production?
Yeah.
I've never seen Muse.
That was very good. I saw U2 at Twickenham, which is the home of English rugby.
Oh, yeah.
It was okay, I was miles away, and it was just, that's the only time I've been to Twickenham, actually. But
I remember you and I went to see Michael Jackson in the mid-90s at the Adelaide Oval, at the old Adelaide Oval. Yeah.
Yes.
That was really funny as a stadium show, because even though it's a big cricket ground, because it was the old ground and lovely old 100-year-old buildings and so forth, Michael Jackson's stage was far larger than any of the stands or anything really that was there. So it was, well, perhaps apart from the Bradman stand up the other end, but it you know what I mean? Like, it was just out of all proportion, this genteel cricket ground, and then Michael Jackson's stage, ridiculously overblown with his tank on stage and his rocket ship and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. The thing that I would hope would happen with a stadium podcast would be eventually some of the stadia would allow you to broadcast from interesting places in the stadium, like the centre circle, or the centre square of a ground, or on a stage or something like that. So you could start saying, we're coming to you in today's podcast from like the centre circle of, Wembley Stadium or something like that. I've actually been lucky. On 2 occasions I've filmed in stadiums for work where I've got permission. One time was the City Ground, Nottingham Forest's ground, where we wanted to do a mathy number video with all the seats and things in the grandstand, and they allowed us to do that. And the other time was at the county ground, the other side of the river, Notts County's home ground, where we wanted to film something with the centre circle of a soccer field, and they let us actually go out and film on the circle. But, asking bigger stadiums like Wembley for permission to do that would be somewhat harder.
And would you record in the normal fashion, or would you ask to be put over the giant sound speaker system for just a moment?
Want to be on the big screen. We want to be on the big screen. Anyway, there we go. Stadium. I think stadium tour. I hadn't actually thought of the third funny thing about it, which was, you can do stadium tours, can't you? Like, when you visit a stadium when it's, as a tourist. And they take you to the changing rooms and the trophy cabinets and things like that. So
I did that one day. When I was living in Melbourne, I just thought I'm going to go on the tour of the MCG. And this is before they did a whole new stand. So it was the old stands and everything.
Was it good?
Yeah, I just went on my own one day and I had a fantastic time. I really enjoyed it. And you could go sit in, it was lovely actually, because you could go and sit in the old coach's box. You could see it was all really like crap. Like it was like, worn carpet on the floor and an old chair. And you could just see where an old phone would have been sitting, that like Kevin Sheedy or Tom Hafey picks up and yells into and bangs down. And like, it was really like, it was like being in an old school classroom, but tiny, just sort of, you can really see why it needs an upgrade. But it was so lovely to sit in there. It felt really special.
If you could go to any stadium right now in the world that you haven't been to, and I could transport you there, and maybe there was a game going on or something. What's the stadium you'd most want to visit?
I guess Wembley. There's Wembley. I've grown up watching like Live Aid and all that on TV, and I've never.
Although it is a new Wembley from that Wembley. Like that Wembley's been demolished.
That's right. Yeah. Well, and then I might say Yankee Stadium, but that's a new Yankee Stadium now as well, isn't it? So they're all gone. So I would probably say the Colosseum in Rome. That's probably the next one.
That's a pretty cool stadium.
I'd go see a couple of gladiators.
One of my favourite stadiums actually was at Pompeii, because in Pompeii, it's like, the ruins of the town, and you walk around the streets of this small town where all that, and you can look at the houses and the shops and all the things and whatnot. But actually on the outskirts of the little town is the stadium where all the people would go and watch the games, and you can go to the stadium.
Oh, yeah.
And that's actually a really nice place just like to take your lunch and have a rest during your tour of Pompeii. And you just sit there on the terraces that look down on the arena. It was my favorite thing in Pompeii.
That's actually a pretty legendary stadium. And mainly in pop music, because Pink Floyd recorded a live album live at Pompeii in 1972. There, it's actually not. It's not really live. They just went there and recorded, like in the space, and filmed it and stuff. So you can look it up. I didn't
know that.
Yeah. Pompeii. That's sort of like.
Oh, here it is. It's called the Amphitheatre of Pompeii. It's the oldest surviving Roman amphitheatre, located in the ancient Roman city of Pompeii, and was buried by the eruption of Vesuvius in 79 AD.
I think Pink Floyd were there after then.
No, they were just after. Aside from being a historical landmark and an object of archaeological study, the amphitheatre has been used for concerts and other public events in modern times. Over a 4-day period in October 1971, Pink Floyd made a concert film at the amphitheatre titled Pink Floyd Live at Pompeii.
Like there's no audience. They're just in the middle of the field. They just played in the ambient space.
Yeah. In 1991, Frank Sinatra was granted special permission by the site's chief archaeologist to perform in the amphitheatre.
Yeah, right.
I haven't been there for a very long time, and just looking at pictures of it, it's even cooler than what I remember. Brilliant.
It does look like a very, very. Does it feel haunting? Like, is it a haunting kind of? Does it feel like
really? No. It didn't feel like that. Like parts of Pompeii do, but not the amphitheatre. It's just like a nice area where you go. It's almost like a bit of respite from the normal tour. I already liked it. All right.
There we go. Stadium tour. Well done, man.
Stadium tour.
You can make like merchandise and jackets and all sorts of stuff.
So, no advertisement today. It's patrons that are making it possible for us to be making all these episodes. If you want to join them, patreon.com/unmadefm. As we record now, we're getting near the end of the month of May, and if you're a patron by the end of May, you're going to be on the list that Tim is going to specially read out, Tommy Bowl Tim. So there's a little incentive to do it quickly, but we're glad for you to join up anytime. And we always try and put a little something extra on there to thank you for your support. Thanks, patrons.
Thanks, patrons. I was talking to someone today that's about to join up because they were thinking of a name to call themselves to have read out.
All right.
So there seems to be some people are giving some thought to unique names to use, but I hope they're not too tongue twister-ish for Tim.
Yeah.
Tommy Ball Tim to read because
no. Peter picked a pipe of pickles or whatever.
No, he's not a highly eloquent man. I mean, he's
no.
He's written five. Well, he's written the same book 5 times. Well, he's had it written
for him.
He's read parts of it.
Yeah. He's promoted the same book 5 times.
That's right. So it's got a nice simple name, Tim, that he remembers. So
yeah,
it's
when you tell people your name's Tim, do you sometimes feel like there's not many letters there, is there? Like that's a really simple name. Like, how do you feel about that? Introducing yourself as Tim.
Like, am I underwhelmed by my own name when I...
I guess, yeah. I guess that is what I'm asking, isn't it? Like, do you ever think, I'm this unique guy full of ideas and thoughts and feelings and complexity, and yet I'm identified by just these 3 letters that loads of other people use as well?
Well... There's the same number of letters in Tom, and Tom Hanks, I'm sure, doesn't feel underwhelmed. Hi, I'm Tom. People will be like, oh, cool. Hi, I'm Tim. Yeah, sorry, I don't have more.
I'm not saying you need to apologize for it, but it's
very brief. Yes. When I was young, I have three names. There's three versions of the name, and which is Tim, Timmy, and Timothy. So
Who calls you Timmy? I've never heard you called Timmy.
well, some cousins do, to be honest. When and they're just about the only ones. In fact, my brother-in-law does as well. It's funny because when I was young, it was kind of like little Timmy because I was so thin and little, I guess. And I was one of the youngest of the sort of, group of cousins living in the same town. So it was like little Timmy. But they sort of keep it up, a few of them. Timmy Hine.
Have you gone through a Timothy phase where you preferred to be known as Timothy?
I like the name Timothy a lot. But it feels pretentious to introduce myself. It's funny, it feels pretentious pretending to call myself my own name. But hello, I'm Timothy. So,
is there ever a circumstance in which you introduce yourself as Timothy?
perhaps at immigration, if you ever say your name there, Timothy Hine. I'm at the bank, those sorts of things. You're saying your name in full. I'm guessing. I used to hear it from Mum when I was in trouble as a little boy, as little Timmy. I used to get called Timothy when I was little Timmy if I was in trouble. And Dad had this funny name. Oh, Mum actually had this funny name, Timotheus. Which sort of sounds like a Dutchy sort of,
I've called you
version.
I've called you that in jest from time to time.
Timotheus, have you?
Yeah, I can recall that.
I think everyone goes through a stage in their childhood where they don't like their name.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I didn't like my name for all my childhood.
Are you reconciled to it now?
Yeah, I think I'm just going to stick with it now, I've decided.
You're not going to switch it to B-Dog or something like that?
Bradius.
Bradius. I think it serves you well. I think it's a cool name, and I think it serves you well because it's unique.
What's your idea for a podcast?
Well, look, I've got something I want to bring up, and there may be an idea in this, and you tell me. If not, if you say no, get lost, then I've got a backup idea, which is a good solid idea.
Is nup get lost like our emergency word then, is it? Just that's a code between Tim and I. So just he'll know that I'm not liking it.
No, get lost. I'd love to see you just type it out in a typewriter and post it to me one day, and I just get this typed. No, get lost. No, it's all over.
Lost. I've got my nup get lost gun loaded and cocked.
I feel like this is going to come out no matter what I say now.
I have to admit, I'm going to put the bar a little bit higher because I would quite like to say it.
All right. Well, okay. I'm going lower. You're expecting higher. No, listen. Okay. This is actually something that it's a personal take, but I think there's potential here for a podcast. It is, however, a very specific topic. The topic. Well, the name that I'm giving it, and once again, often I've got ideas that are slightly more genius than the name suggests. But
yes.
This name is called Find Tim's Frames.
Right.
For the past 10 years, I've been wearing the same glasses frames, right?
Yeah.
I'm used to them. I'm settled in them. It took me a long time to find a pair of frames that I think kind of suited my sort of somewhat unusually shaped head. As my wife calls it, Muppetish head.
I've never thought of that. You do have a Muppet head.
So I finally found a pair of frames that kind of, bring some, required proportion to my cranium.
Add a bit of gravitas to your otherwise Muppety appearance.
That's I found them and I've liked them. And for the last 10 years, I've been wearing them and they're perfect. And then I've swapped them over for a new pair of when they wear out, get bent, all that, because my head, like one ear is slightly higher than the other one. So you sort of have to bend them in a funny way so that they stay on my face. Right. And I'd go back, get the exact same ones, right?
Do they have a name? Like, are they called the Paris Deluxes or something, or have they got a design name? They
do. The brand is the Dita, D-I-T-A, and the model is called the New Yorker, right? So it's the Dita New Yorkers, right?
Yeah, I had the wrong city, but I was on the right case there.
You're right. Yeah. That's right. I mean, it's the wrong continent, but you're on the right theme.
Yeah,
but they're perfect. They're my glasses, and I'm not interested in new glasses and frames. But Dita, in their wisdom, have decided to discontinue them. I can't find them anywhere.
Oh, no.
I need them. And I don't just need, I'm thinking I need not just one pair, I need a stash. I need to to put them away for years to come. I've got a long life to live. So this podcast is kind of like a detective story, essentially hunting down and finding all the remaining dear to New Yorkers on Earth.
Well, okay, Tim, this is what I have to say. I'm not going to give you a nut get lost, because this is a good idea.
Right.
So, and I very much sympathise with this, because a large part of my life is spent sitting on the sofa opposite my wife while she Googles things that she loves that have been discontinued, whether it's a type of makeup or a perfume or a particular type of shoe that's worn out that she wants to get again. And she's very loyal.
Don't get me started on makeup, but anyway, keep going.
So when there's something, that she likes and she thinks works, and she's quite loyal to it, and when it gets discontinued, this is a big moment. So I'm familiar with this. There's some perfume that was discontinued that she's forever searching for, like, secret stashes of on eBay and stuff.
Right.
But that's where I think, like, the one mistake you've made here is you haven't just immediately thought, this is a good idea, I will generalize it. So I think the Dita New Yorker glasses is one episode. That's Tim's episode. And the next episode is, the perfume that was discontinued. So each episode is you'd call it Discontinued.
Yes.
Which is a cool name, because at the end of each episode is to be discontinued.
Yes.
So the idea of things that have been discontinued, and each guest comes on talking about the thing they love that was discontinued. Everyone's got like a food or a sauce or something they loved in their life that, unfortunately for them, they were one of the only ones who loved it, and therefore it was discontinued.
It's gone.
But you always hear tales of people who find like a stash of it somewhere and they can stock up. And like you're saying, if you could find those New Yorkers now, knowing what you know now, you'd buy 10 of them, wouldn't you?
I'd fill a room. That's right.
Yeah. I love the idea of a discontinued podcast.
Yeah. There's a good idea. Well workshopped. You found the diamond in the rough.
Yeah. It's a teamwork.
Just getting back to my frames now.
I do sense a slight agenda and crowdsourcing project behind the scenes. I think maybe you're slightly exploiting the audience.
Well, that's right. I am. And and if anyone's out there,
would you be willing to take secondhand ones? Like if someone like donated their Dita New Yorkers to you?
I found, because I've been spending days scouring, the internet a little bit looking for them, and I found a secondhand pair. They were a lighter shade than I would normally wear. Like, I'm not sure I'll wear them anyway. But I found a secondhand pair on eBay, and I thought for a moment, and then I'm like, nah, I don't think I could do that. But I have secondhand pairs. I've got my secondhand pairs. I've got a drawer full of them. And I was thinking of switching to black. I've had brown, and I thought about switching to black. Now I would take brown, black, blue. I'd take anything. Oh, except for that light brown pair.
Can't find them. I'm just having a look at them on. I'm having a look at them now. Have you contacted Dita, the company itself?
I have. What
did they say?
Well, I tweeted them, and let me find what they replied.
$390. American?
Yeah, well, how much do you think glasses frames cost?
Well, obviously I thought it was less than $390, judging from my reaction just then.
They're not particularly... they can get very expensive. These are they're good quality ones, but
they're nice looking.
I don't have like 10 pairs of glasses. I'm not Elton John. I buy one good quality pair, and I wear them for like 4 or 5 years. And then
$505 in Australia?
Yes.
Wow.
And the lenses are $500 too for the prescriptions.
It's expensive having a Muppet head.
I do actually have a problem with my eyes. I am short-sighted. I don't wear them primarily to balance out my head.
To de-Muppet yourself.
De-Muppet. That's right.
I think the fact you wear glasses would probably adds to your Muppetness rather than detracts from it.
Do you think so? You think if Jim Henson was designing me, he would have said, let's put some glasses on him. It'll look great.
You don't look right without glasses, man. No offense. Stick with glasses. Glasses definitely suit you. Having seen you without glasses definitely suit you.
Not just because you're used to them, just you think I'm all right. You think that it's the saving grace of my life that my eyes went wrong.
Of course, it's because I'm used to them, but that's less funny.
It's when I'm born, the doctor looked at me and said, well, yeah, maybe you'll get lucky. Maybe he's short-sighted.
Quick, get me some glasses. Get some glasses in here before his mum has to see this. Your mum's never seen you without them.
I like the idea that I was born with glasses. It's so part of me. They've been there all my life.
Yeah.
And it is incredibly personal to have them. And I do feel wrong to have them off. It's strange to have them off. Not just because I can't see.
Do you feel nude?
Well, yes. I mean, yes. You do feel like you're not, well, where is it? It's not just even like your watch or rings that I wear. It's further than that. It's like, oh gosh, but it's the last thing I do at night is put the glasses down next to bed, and you wake up in the morning, you put them on, and
what do you do when you have a shower? You don't wear them in the shower?
Well, no, you take them off for the shower. Okay. I do sometimes give them a rinse, throw them under the water a bit, but like if you've been working in the garden or gone for a run, that sort of thing, then I might put them in the shower and then just sit them next to the shower.
But you run with them on. You run with them.
Oh yes.
How do they stay on? They just stay on because they're a good fit. You don't need to put a special band on them or something when you run. No. If I was playing football or basketball, you would. They'd fly off. But going for a run, they just sort of sit there. Yeah, you get sweaty and they fall down a little bit, so you kind of push them up because the arms. How often do you break or bend them, by sitting on them or doing something clumsy and stupid? Because that's I'm notorious for breaking sunglasses by not caring for them. But that's because I take them off a lot and I'll just sit them on a chair next to me or something, which you obviously don't do. So are you very prone to breaking glasses? No, that's true. The safest place for them is wearing them. And, so most of the time, so it's been a long time since I did anything. Sometimes they fell off. I picked something up, a box or something the other day, and they fell on the ground, and I just sort of put my foot out just in time, so they sort of landed on my sneaker rather than the ground. And generally these days they will scratch. They won't break. They're pretty strong, and that's another reason to get some good ones. How do you scratch them? Like if they fall on the ground, then the concrete scratches them, on the glass, that is, Or on the side. Why will they fall on the ground if they rarely come off? No, they do rarely, yes, but they do sometimes, Okay. Yeah. Do you know what? Yeah. I'm going to cross an idea off my list, by the way, that's been on my list for about a year or two now, which is called the Glasses Podcast, which is all about wearing glasses. Because I'm now taking this opportunity to ask you all the questions I want to ask about wearing glasses. I love it. No one's ever interested in my glasses. This is really lovely. I appreciate you taking an interest. When did you switch to the Dita New Yorker? Oh, I don't know. Like more than a decade ago. Oh, I can't believe they're not sponsoring this episode. They so should be. What did they say when you tweeted them about it? What was their reply? Hi, Tim. And then they gave the email address, support@dita.com will be able to assist you further. Sorry for any inconvenience, ! No, well, that's like a robot answer. It is. Yeah, I'm not putting up with that. So I have messaged them as well. There's like a messenger thing that you can send on Facebook. They got back to me to said, we're looking into it, which is, that's really cool. All right, people, anyone who's got a social media account, get onto Dita. Tell them that Tim needs his New Yorkers. That's right. It's Dita Eyewear. Yes, they do. Tim needs his New Yorkers. There's got to be some somewhere. Surely there's a big box at the back of a factory somewhere. Yeah. Or some shop that just didn't sell out of them and has got them sitting out the back. If you work at a shop that sells glasses and you've got any Dita New Yorkers, get in touch with Tim. He needs you. This is your moment to shine. Absolutely. Yeah. And I'll be very grateful. I was looking through the internet and I found that Guy Pearce, the actor, at one stage wore them. I don't know if he wore them as like an influencer or something, but he wore them. Thought about contacting him personally to say, look, do you still need them? Were you just wearing them for the photo shoot? Have you got a spare pair? You don't know me, but... P.S. I think your films are good too. Yeah, that's right. All right. So there we go. So that's what I want. So find Tim's frames, and I think that there's stories and exploits. But no, you're perfectly right. This is an idea discontinued of a whole range of things. Have you had something like this? You've shared about your wife, but what about yourself? Yeah, I don't know. There must be, but I haven't had enough time to think about it. What about? Well, it's probably cheating in the sense that you moved overseas, so it's not quite the same as losing a product that you would only get in Australia. Oh yeah, I miss all the bad food from Australia, but you can get a lot of that shipped over. I recently had 2 bags of Minties shipped over. I've realised how much I miss Minties. If you can send me a few bags of Minties, man, I'd really appreciate it. Sure, yeah. Minties is great. Just as many bags of Minties as you think you can ship without drawing the suspicion of customs officials. Bags or sacks, man? Yeah, you could send them over like drug smugglers and have them hidden inside things, Like if I swallowed them? Like if I ate a heap of Minties and then came to visit you? Would that count? Let's not do that. I would love some Minties. In fact, if my friend who flies to London all the time from Australia hadn't been grounded by the pandemic, I'd probably be asking him for Minties right now.
Right.
I've got a real hankering for them. And I could do with some more chicken twisties, but I think chicken twisties would be a waste of weight and volume for shipping. The amount of cost and trouble with getting those big bags of twisties over. Whereas Minties are quite dense.
Yeah.
So it's better value for your shipping.
That's true.
They didn't last long when they got here. I got 2 bags. They didn't last long.
The Minties, there. I think Minties last in your mouth about 20 seconds or 30 seconds less than they should. Like it's suddenly gone, and you're like, oh.
They're so hard to chew, though. It's like running a marathon chewing through a bag of Minties. Like, it's really strenuous on your jaw.
You got to practice and keep it. It does. You do have a sore jaw at the end of the day. I've been at work at the end of the day.
A whole day of eating Minties.
Just sitting there in front of them at the desk, all right, one at a time. Keep at it. Yeah. We had them at reception at work, and so every time I walk past reception, there's a little bowl for people, and every time you walk past to the printer or to get something or see someone, you'd sneak one, and they after a while you've had a few, and you go, you know what, I think I've had a lot of Minties, and then the receptionist starts saying, who's eating all the Minties? She's having to refill the bowl.
I'm going to tell my celebrity Minty story. When I was a young journalist, I was sent out on an assignment. And the assignment was that the Australian cricket team, which is these are the 11 gods of Australia, were in Adelaide because they were playing cricket in Adelaide. And the day before the game, it had been arranged for them to have a lesson or a tutorial on how to use computers and email and the internet. Because this was when, learning about how to be better at computers was a thing. It wasn't just something you were born with. And so this was a computer course, learn more about computers. They'd been organised by a local computer company. And as a bit of a PR for themselves, they'd organised for the media to be there, which was me from the newspaper. So I was waiting in the reception area outside the room where they were going to go and learn in private to hopefully get a couple of quotes from a few players beforehand, a quick photo of them sitting at a computer, and then get out the way. They don't like the media, of course, because they're always being hounded. So I'm sitting there waiting for the Australian cricketers to walk in. And then eventually they start milling in and making themselves cups of tea and stuff like that, getting ready. And 1 or 2 of them were kind enough to talk to me and pose for a photo. A few of them, when they saw the media, they rolled their eyes, but anyway, they did the right thing. And then it was almost time for me to leave. And next to where they were making these cups of tea in reception was this huge goldfish bowl full of Minties, which are these minty sweeties that are covered in little wrappers for people who don't know what a Minty is. Just like a mint sweet that, the size of, what are they? The size of what's something that's the size of a Minty? The size of a dice, about that size, they're very small. Huge, big goldfish bowl full of these Minties as a little sweet to have you do. It's much like what you were talking about by the sounds of it in reception. You have Minties in reception. And a couple of the players may have taken 1 or 2. Anyway, just before start time, in walks Shane Warne. Shane Warne is the most famous Australian cricketer. He's the superstar. He's Babe Ruth or Tom Brady or someone like that. He's a big deal. You've heard Tim talk about Shane Warne loads of times. He's very famous. He's the star, but he's also known for being a bit uncouth, a bit rough around the edges. He's the guy that whenever they would go on a tour of India to play cricket, instead of sampling the local food, would bring tins of baked beans with him because he just wanted to eat baked. Anyway, in walks Shane Warne, and it's probably one of the first times I've ever seen Shane Warne in person, so I was a bit excited. In walks Shane Warne wearing a tracksuit, training Australian tracksuit, sees these Minties, this bowl of Minties. And he goes, first thing he says, "Oh, Minties, I love them." Walks up to this fishbowl, puts both hands in it, completely fills his fists with 2 fistfuls of Minties, shoves them into the pocket of his tracksuit pants, and then shoves 2 more hands into the fishbowl and grabs. So he's grabbed 4 handfuls of Minties. And then just walked straight past all the tea and biscuits and walked in and sat at his computer and just piled all his Minties on next to his computer so he could eat Minties for the training session. Australia's greatest athlete, our pride and that. And all he does is fill his tracksuit pants with free lollies.
Oh, that's great. It's like saying, "Oh, I like Minties." It's just,
It's just like a kid. Like there's all these grown men, Australia's greatest athletes, having a tea and getting ready for this, and then in walks their superstar, and he just fills his pockets with free sweets because he can, like a kid on Halloween.
Just because you're earning millions of dollars, it doesn't mean you necessarily prefer caviar. It's just,
Exactly.
Hadn't given it a moment's thought. Just like, there we go.
I mean, if he likes Minties, he could have had a Ferrari full of Minties follow him around wherever he went. But instead, he said, great, free Minties, I'm taking them.
That's right. There is there's another podcast idea in there about secret obsessions or sweet tooth or something. You know how people have you could walk past, 10 different types of lollies, but if you see that one, you're like, oh, hello,
Tim,
I like these.
Don't burn a good podcast idea just on a throwaway.
Oh, look, I've got so many I can burn. I'll give you another one now.
I'm going to start my Minties podcast. I tell you what, there's 2 campaigns for us to start. Let's contact Dieter about getting Tim's New Yorkers.
Yes.
And let's contact Minties about them shipping me a whole bunch of Minties. Because I am Shane Warne. I do want to fill my pockets with Minties, and they're bloody hard to get in England.
Well, there you go. Good luck with that, man. But seriously, just getting back to those frames, I
don't think anyone listening will have missed the point that you want to get these Dieter New Yorker frames. Considering you wanted to do a whole podcast about it, multiple episodes.
I do. A global campaign. This is the sort of thing. Maybe there could be like a telethon, but it's like an awareness raising. Or speaking of Wembley, it's time for another. Isn't it time for another Live Aid? This is it's going to be. Anyway,
are you open to? You're going to get this whether you want to or not. But are you open to people looking at these frames and suggesting other frames to you that may be a suitable replacement?
No, I'm not open to that. No.
Okay,
I have.
That'd be a no then.
Yeah,
get lost.
I'm aware that there are other brands have ones that look similar. I've had many very helpful shop assistants recently in the optometrist, pointing out these are nice or these look quite like the ones you were talking about. I can't change. I don't want to change. Even though I'm about a year overdue on getting new lenses and so forth, and I could get them put into these same frames, although they're sort of loose, and after a while they bend out so much you sort of do need to replace them. So I'm holding things up. My prescriptions, well and truly needing an update. I refuse to entrust my lenses to another frame. I'm getting stubborn as I get older in these things. That's the reason why you pay a good amount for some frames, is that you need to pay a lot for the lenses. Just are expensive, and you need to get you need to see. Like that's a core need in life, and I have a complex prescription, so you sort of want to entrust something safe around them to hold them in place.
Why don't you investigate what glasses Scooter from the Muppets wears? Because he looks cool.
Let's have a look at Scooter. Oh, I've typed in Scooter and a whole bunch of Vespa scooters have come up. I need to be more specific. Scooter Muppet.
Yeah.
See, they're not dissimilar, to be honest. They're not dissimilar. These Scooter's got good taste, although Scooter does still look like a Muppet.
He does a bit. Well, so do you, to be fair.
I just look like a Muppet with glasses, which is like at least a quirk.
Surprisingly few Muppets wear glasses. The professor one does.
Yeah, what's his name again? The Swedish professor.
There's the Swedish chef.
Oh yeah, no. It's the
Bunsen Honeydew's his name.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But he doesn't seem to have eyes. He just has glasses without eyes.
Yes, no, that's right. Yeah, he looks great. I think this is the Muppet that's in my wife's mind when she's saying this about me. Like looking at him.
Bunsen Honeydew?
Yeah.
Or Scooter? I think you're more Scooter than Bunsen Honeydew.
Oh, I think because it's kind of a round head. Like it's like a round or squarish kind of round head. Well, look, I've never seen myself from the back or the side, to be honest. So Anyway,
Cool.
There we go. I didn't need my reliable backup idea, which I'll save for next time.
Save that. I've also printed out quite a nice Patreon suggestion, but I think we've gone a bit long, and I'll save that for next time. So yeah, I've printed it out, but we'll do you next time. Thank you, everyone, and we shall inevitably return, hopefully with Tim with new glasses.
Indeed. Wilderness and gravy.